The morning that changes everything. The Stoic Secret to taking back your life. Hey, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Ancient Stoic Secrets, where modern life meets timeless wisdom. Tomorrow will still come, even if you're not ready. The sun will rise, the clock will scream, emails will pile up. But the question isn't whether life will get easier, it's whether you'll let it drag you or decide to lead it. For years, I kept waiting for the right time, the right feeling, the perfect morning to start becoming the person I knew I could be. But here's the truth I wish I'd learned sooner. Morning isn't just the time of day. It's the battlefield where your mind either wins or surrenders. If you don't use your morning to build your world, you'll spend it building someone else's. Their schedule, their deadlines, their dreams. And slowly you forget your own. The Stoics taught that the only thing you truly control is your mind. Not the market, not the weather, not how others treat you, just your inner state. And the morning, that quiet, fragile space before the world reaches for you, is where you reclaim that control. Maybe you've been running for years, chasing promotions, deadlines, approval, and yet inside, you feel exhausted. Maybe you wake up and grab your phone, diving straight into someone else's highlight reel before your own day has even begun. But what if tomorrow morning you tried something different? What if you gave yourself just 10 minutes of silence? No scrolling, no rushing, just breathing, journaling, or watching the sunrise. You'd start to notice something. The chaos doesn't disappear, but you stop being its prisoner. That's the first real victory of the day. So don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the world to slow down. Life won't wait for you, but it will respond to discipline. Rise early. Move with purpose. Guard your mind like a fortress. Every sunrise is an invitation, a quiet whisper that says, you still have time to become who you were meant to be. Welcome to Ancient Stoic Secrets. Let's begin. 1. Life waits for nobody. Every morning, while you're still opening your eyes, someone out there has already begun. They're running through the cold air, writing down their plans, shaping their day before the world can shape it for them. And you, maybe you're lying there, staring at the ceiling, whispering, tomorrow. I'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow is a sweet lie we tell ourselves. It sounds gentle, patient, forgiving. But it quietly kills more dreams than failure ever could, because life doesn't wait for you to be ready. The clock doesn't pause while you heal, while you overthink, while you scroll through another hour. I once met a man named Tom. He worked at the same factory for 25 years, loyal, quiet, responsible. Then one morning, during what should have been a routine meeting, his manager said, the new system only needs half the staff. Just like that, the job, the certainty, the rhythm of his life, gone. He told me later, the hardest part wasn't losing the paycheck. It was realizing I'd spent decades preparing for a life that could disappear overnight. That's when it hit me. Life doesn't owe us stability. Change doesn't knock politely. It storms in, uninvited. And when it does, you have two choices. Wait for someone to fix it, or start rebuilding with your own hands. Marcus Aurelius wrote, do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. He wasn't warning us about death. He was reminding us of urgency. Every time you hit snooze, you surrender another chance. Every time you scroll instead of act, you let your story write itself without you. So ask yourself, if today were your last chance to move forward, what would you do with the next 20 minutes? Would you still wait for motivation, or would you move? Tired, scared,
uncertain, but still moving. Because the truth is, the world keeps spinning whether you're ready or not. And once you realize that no one's coming to save you, you finally see the power you've had all along. Life doesn't reward intentions. It rewards action. Not tomorrow, not someday, but right now, while your heart still beats and the sun still rises outside your window.
2. Take care of yourself first. If you collapse tomorrow, your job would replace you within a week. If you disappeared, the world would still move on. It sounds harsh, but in that truth lies freedom, because it reminds us our first duty isn't to the company, the deadlines, or the inbox. It's to our mind and our body. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't build something great if you're running on fumes. I learned that the hard way. There was a time when I believed exhaustion was a badge of honor, that working late, skipping meals, and pushing harder meant I was strong. But strength without balance is self-destruction dressed as dedication. Epictetus once said, "Guard your mind like a fortress, for if it falls, everything else will fall with it." That line stayed with me, because the truth is, our mind is the fortress, but most of us leave its gates wide open. We wake up and hand our focus to the world before we even take our first breath. Notifications, opinions, endless noise, all flooding in before we've even looked in the mirror. So let me ask you, what's the first thing you touch in the morning? Your phone or your purpose? Because whichever one you choose will own your day. If you start your morning in chaos, you'll spend the day reacting. But if you start in silence, a few deep breaths, a stretch, a glass of water, a quiet journal page, you begin from strength. You stop being a slave to the world and become the commander of your own state of mind. And this isn't luxury, it's responsibility. Because when you break, those who love you break with you. When you're calm, you lead others into calm. When you're grounded, you remind others what peace looks like. So treat your body like the instrument of your destiny. Feed it, move it, rest it. Not out of vanity, but out of respect for the life that depends on it. Every morning, ask yourself, am I fortifying my fortress today, or am I slowly tearing it down? Because how you start your morning is how you live your life. 3. Don't regret, learn, and move forward. Regret is the quiet prison of the mind. It doesn't chain your body, it chains your thoughts. You keep replaying the same scenes, whispering, if only I'd said yes, if only I'd left sooner, if only I'd tried harder. But here's what I learned. The past doesn't live anywhere but inside you. It exists only when you feed it your energy. And every time you revisit it, you trade a piece of your present for a shadow that can't love you back. I once met a man named David, a former athlete who blew out his knee at 26. One injury and his entire identity vanished. He told me every conversation came back to that one moment, the day everything ended. But one morning, after years of bitterness, he realized something simple but powerful. That chapter wasn't his curse, it was his teacher. He began coaching local kids, passing on what he once thought he'd lost. And you could see it in his eyes. He'd finally stopped mourning the life that could have been and started living the one that still was. That's the Stoic truth about regret. It's only poison if you keep drinking it. But if you turn it into wisdom, it becomes power. Every mistake carries a lesson wrapped in pain. You don't have to keep staring at the wound. You just have to stop reopening it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." That means every obstacle, every heartbreak, every failure isn't punishment. It's a map, a compass pointing you toward who you could become if you're brave enough to learn instead of linger. So next time you feel regret, try this. Pause, breathe, ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? Then move forward. Not bitter, not broken, but wiser. Because the Stoics didn't seek a life without pain. They sought a life where pain had purpose. And maybe that's what true freedom is. Not erasing the past, but finally learning to walk beside it. 4. Build your dream or build someone else's. Every morning, you're building something, whether you realize it or not. You're either building your dream or you're helping someone else build theirs. And that's not an insult, it's reality.
The company you work for, the apps you use, the buildings you walk into, they all began as someone's dream. Someone who woke up earlier, stayed up later, believed when everyone else laughed. But the question is, when was the last time you worked on yours? When was the last time you gave your dream the same respect you give your boss's deadlines? Most people say, I don't have time, but that's not true. You have mornings. Those quiet hours before the world wakes, that's your stolen time, your sacred time. The world won't hand you space to build. You have to claim it. I remember waking up one day realizing I'd spent years checking other people's goals off my to-do list while mine sat in the corner collecting dust. And that realization hit like a storm. I'd been loyal to everyone's dream but my own. Building your dream doesn't mean quitting your job or throwing your life into chaos. It means starting small. One page, one idea, one step before the noise begins. Maybe it's writing for 10 minutes. Maybe it's learning a skill that lights you up inside. The scale doesn't matter. The consistency does. Marcus Aurelius said, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." If your ambition is comfort, your life will be small and safe. But if your ambition is freedom, prepare to sacrifice. Because no one's going to hand you the time to build. You have to fight for it, protect it, and show up for it even when you're tired. And one day, when people walk through the doors you built, they'll call it luck. But you'll know the truth. It was discipline born from those quiet hours when nobody was watching. So tomorrow morning, when the world still sleeps, ask yourself, am I waking up to build my dream or to keep building someone else's?
5. Work in silence. Celebrate in private. The world is loud. Everywhere you look, someone's shouting about their goals, their hustle, their grind. But here's the strange thing. The louder people talk about what they'll do, the less they often do. Because when you announce your dreams too soon, you don't inspire yourself. You drain your energy. You invite other people's fears, doubts, and envy to mix with your own. And suddenly, your focus starts to scatter. I learned this the hard way. There was a time when I wanted everyone to know my plans. I thought if I said them out loud, it would make me accountable. But instead, it made me distracted. People questioned me, offered advice I didn't ask for, and I found myself defending the dream instead of building it. That's when I remembered the Stoic truth. A seed doesn't grow under applause. It grows under pressure in the dark. Think about it. The most powerful things in nature develop in silence. Mountains rise quietly, storms gather before they roar, and the roots of a tree strengthen long before anyone sees the first leaf. Your dreams are the same. They need time, darkness, and solitude to take root. You don't owe anyone a progress report. You owe yourself the work. When you work in silence, you stop performing and start creating. You stop chasing validation and start chasing mastery. And when you finally succeed, let the results speak through you. Because real power doesn't need to shout, it echoes. Not everyone will celebrate your wins. Some will envy you, some will doubt you. But that's fine. You didn't build it for their approval. You built it for your purpose. So protect your dream like a flame in the wind. Shelter it, feed it, guard it from noise. Let the world wonder how you did it. Because when you forge your sword in silence, the day you draw it, the world will hear its power before they ever see your face. 6. Listen only to the right voices. The world never stops talking. Everyone has an opinion and everyone believes they know what's best for you. But here's a truth most people never realize. Not every voice deserves your attention. We live in an age of noise. Podcasts, posts, influencers, experts, advice everywhere. But how many of them are actually living a life you admire? How many have built something you'd want to build? Most people who say don't do it are the ones who never dared. Most who say it's too risky are the ones who never tried. I remember when I told a friend I wanted to start my own project. He laughed and said, "You're too old for that." For a while, I believed him, until I realized his words came from fear, not wisdom. He wasn't protecting me, he was projecting his own regret. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know anything about the subject." That one line changed the way I filtered advice. Now, before I let someone's words enter my mind, I ask 3 questions. First, does this person have the results I want? Second, did they achieve it under circumstances like mine? And third, what will this advice cost me? If the answer to any of those is no, I let their opinion pass like noise in the background. Because confidence doesn't always mean wisdom, volume doesn't equal truth, and popularity doesn't equal peace. The most powerful voice you will ever hear is your own, the one that whispers when the world gets quiet. It doesn't shout, it doesn't beg, it simply says, "This is your path." Spend a few minutes every morning listening to that voice before the world begins to shout. Journal, breathe. Ask yourself what you truly want, not what looks good, but what feels right in your bones. Because in the end, your life isn't built from other people's opinions. It's built from your choices, one quiet decision at a time. And when you learn to trust your own voice above the noise, you stop following the crowd and start leading yourself. 7. Life rewards consistency, not excuses. Here's one truth most people never understand. Life doesn't reward explanations, it rewards consistency. You can have the best ideas, the biggest dreams, the purest intentions, but if you only move when it's convenient, your dreams will die waiting. I used to think success was about intensity, those big bursts of motivation that make you run fast for a week, then crash for a month. But life isn't a sprint, it's a rhythm, and consistency is the drumbeat. Think about water. One drop means nothing.
But repeated, day after day, it carves through stone. That's not power. That's persistence. Seneca once wrote, "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And he was right. We say we don't have time, yet we find hours for distractions, minutes for scrolling, and seconds for excuses. I met a writer once, quiet man, worked full-time at a factory. Every morning before his shift, he sat at the same kitchen table, wrote for 30 minutes, then went to work. No audience, no applause, just words and coffee. 10 years later, his book hit the shelves, and people called him an overnight success. But his overnight took 3,650 mornings. That's what consistency looks like. Doing the small things daily, even when no one's watching, even when you're tired, even when it feels pointless. Because consistency is what transforms effort into identity. It's not about being perfect. It's about showing up again and again and again until it becomes who you are. If you meditate for 5 minutes a day, you're still someone who values peace. If you walk every morning, you're someone who honors health. If you write 1 page each sunrise, you're a writer, not because of a title, but because you practice. The Stoics called this discipline self-respect in motion. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen the quiet bond between who you are and who you want to be. Every time you break that promise, you chip away at your own trust. So set your non-negotiables. 5 minutes of reflection, 10 minutes of movement, a moment of gratitude before the day begins. And then do them, not because you feel like it, but because they define you. Remember, life doesn't care about your excuses. It remembers your patterns. And those patterns, small, steady, daily, are what build empires, heal minds, and shape destinies. So don't wait for the perfect day, the right mood, or the spark of motivation. Because discipline isn't built on feelings, it's built on repetition. And the truth is simple. You don't need to move fast. You just need to keep moving. Every sunrise is another chance to prove to yourself that you can depend on you. 8. The power of quiet mornings. The older I get, the more I realize that peace doesn't come from doing more, it comes from doing less, but doing it with intention. For most of my life, mornings felt like a race. Alarms blaring, notifications exploding, coffee gulped like gasoline before another storm of obligations. I was living in reaction, not creation. And the truth is, that's how most of us live, constantly responding, rarely reflecting. We wake up and dive straight into the noise, and then wonder why the day feels like a blur. But something changed when I started treating my mornings differently. Not as a checklist, but as a sacred space.
Now, before I touch my phone, before I check what the world wants from me, I ask a simple question. What kind of person do I want to be today? It sounds small, but that question rewires everything. Because when you begin your day with purpose, you stop drifting through life waiting for clarity. You create it. One of the Stoics wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." That means every morning, you're painting your mind. If you start your day with chaos, your mind becomes chaotic. If you start with calm, you carry that calm into every meeting, every decision, every challenge. I once met a retired firefighter named Ray. Every morning for 30 years, he woke up at 4:30 a.m. Not because his job demanded it, but because he needed time to center himself before the world started burning, literally and figuratively. He told me, if I didn't have that quiet hour, I couldn't face the fire. That stayed with me. We think self-care is luxury, but it's survival. You can't lead anyone, not your team, not your family, not even yourself, if you're running on empty. And that's what mornings give you, a chance to refill, to breathe, to reflect, to remind yourself that you are not your inbox, not your title, not your to-do list. You are the stillness behind all that movement. So tomorrow morning, before the world reaches for you, reach for yourself first. Sit in silence, feel the sun through the window, write one line in a journal, whisper gratitude for another day. Then go into the world, not hurried, not hollow, but anchored. Because the truth is, greatness isn't built in grand moments of victory. It's built quietly in those early hours, when no one's watching, when you choose presence over pressure and discipline over distraction. And when you live like that, you stop chasing peace and start becoming it. The Morning Manifesto. So here's the truth. Life doesn't wait for you. When you fall, the world keeps moving. Regret wastes your time. Excuses steal your power. But every sunrise, every single one, gives you another chance to begin again. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need to erase your past. You just need one morning brave enough to say, "Today, I start again." Because discipline, practiced daily, turns ordinary people into warriors. And every time you keep a promise to yourself, you take one more step toward the person you were meant to be. So tomorrow morning, when your eyes open and the light spills across your room, don't reach for your phone. Reach for purpose. Whisper to yourself, "Today I don't wait. Today I don't ask for permission. Today I act." Remember, the Stoics didn't chase perfection. They practiced presence. They didn't wish for easy days. They built strong minds. And that's what this community, Ancient Stoic Secrets, is all about. It's not about ancient words written on marble walls. It's about timeless strength, practice here, now, in the mess and beauty of modern life. If this message spoke to you, even a little, take a breath. Feel that stillness inside you. That's where your power lives. Then share this message with someone who needs that reminder too. A friend who's tired, a partner who's lost direction, someone who's forgotten how powerful a single morning can be. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to Ancient Stoic Secrets. Not because it's just another channel, but because it's a space built for people like you. People who crave growth, who want to think deeper, live calmer, and rise stronger. Here we walk together, one idea, one sunrise, one quiet act of discipline at a time. We learn to master the one thing we can truly control, our minds. And if you stay with us, you'll see you don't need motivation when you have meaning.
You don't need control over life when you have control over yourself. So, like this video if it reminded you of your strength. Share it with someone who's ready to remember theirs. And subscribe. Join our journey, one morning at a time. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more people who move with purpose. Let's be those people, together. Welcome to Ancient Stoic Secrets. Your journey starts now.